Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Now, will this be the election in which votes are lent to another party in a bid to stop whatever voters consider the least worst option? The last 2 days have seen parties grappling with tactical voting as an idea, who it helps, whose chances it destroys. Will Labour voters in heavily Leave seats go Tory this time to see Brexit come about? Or will Tory voters in heavily Remain seats go with their independent, Lib Dem or Labour candidates on Thursday? The seat of Kensington is now the most marginal one in England. Just 20 votes separate the Conservatives from Labour, who held it last time, and the Lib Dems are snapping at both their heels with an ex-Tory defector. So how many of its heavily Remain voters are prepared to go tactically? Here's James Clayton.
We've always been Labour from day one. It's a two-way split between the Labour and Conservatives, and if the Lib Dem voters are sensible, they'll be voting tactically, keep the Conservatives out, keep Labour in.
Atiq Zaman has always voted Labour, but he's worried.
The fear is basically that the Lib Dems voters will just vote for Lib Dems and not consider the fact that if they do that, they'll be splitting the vote.
At the start of this campaign, there was talk of tactical voting on both sides. But with the tanking of the Brexit Party in the polls, the focus has sharpened on Remain areas. Areas like Kensington that voted 69% to stay in the EU. If you look at the 2017 election, this constituency is a two-horse race. Labour won here by 20 votes. But if you take the results of the European elections earlier this year in the borough of Kensington and Chelsea, the Lib Dems won here handsomely. So what's going on right now? Well, a recent constituency survey by Joe Twyman's Delta poll suggests all three parties are in with a shot. But take that with a pinch of salt. Constituency polling can have large margins of error. The truth is, it's difficult to know.
If you don't want a Tory MP, who do you actually vote for here?
Well, this is the problem that both Labour and the Lib Dems face. They appear to be splitting the Remain vote, and no one side of the Remain argument is winning out. And so you would have to say that tactically, there's no real right answer to that. You choose which one is aligned with you ideologically and which one has your closest view on Brexit. But in terms of strictly which one is more likely to win, it's not possible to tell.
Tactical voting sites have sprung up claiming to know which party to vote for in certain constituencies, but they don't always agree. Aidan says he's voting Lib Dem, but he's giving it careful thought.
I don't have much confidence in any party at the moment, but I'm quite pro-European, so that's why I'm thinking of voting for Liberal Democrats at the moment.
Have you been looking at websites and things like that?
Yeah, I've been trying to get a lot of different sources and all of that, not just focusing on one.
What would make you think about voting for Labour?
The only reason I would vote for Labour is to try and keep the Tories out.
Others like the Lib Dems but think it'll be a wasted vote and are opting for the Tories.
I don't think the Liberal Democrats have got a damn chance in hell. So it's a choice between those two, a lying buffoon or a Marxist.
And what are you going to go for?
The lying buffoon.
Many people we spoke to, though, broadly shared the view of Katrina Phillips, that they'd vote simply for the party they liked.
I don't agree with this tactical voting thing. I think people who are on the fence should go with the party that they believe in.
Labour and the Liberal Democrats have refused to back down for one another in this election. If voters follow that lead, it could mean that pro-Brexit Conservatives winning in the very heart of Remain areas.
That was James Clayton reporting. There's a full list of candidates standing in Kensington at bbc.co.uk/candidates. Joining us now, though, is Geeta Sidhu-Rob, the Vice Chair of the People's Vote campaign, and Claire Fox, Brexit Party MEP for North West England. Geeta, if I can start with you, because I know you've been canvassing recently in Kensington. Do you think people are ready to vote tactically in a way that they wouldn't have been in previous elections?
I think they're so much more aware of it, and I think a lot of that is also down to people like us, because the People's Vote campaign, that's our sole job. We are a tactical voting organisation, and I'm not aware that it has been quite this obvious to people that every single vote will make a difference to the outcome, every single vote. And there are places. Politics has undergone such a sort of a mass feminisation. It's changed. It's become so collaborative. And in the old days, politics was so polarising only. you know, and our system is set up.
A feminisation, that's interesting.
Yes.
You think something has shifted?
I think something has absolutely shifted, because we're at the coalface. We see this again and again. And I'm seeing people going out for a Liberal Democrat. And in some of our seats, you'll see a Labour person, an independent Tory, a Green Party out, and they're canvassing for a Liberal Democrat.
Is that your experience, Claire? Would you call it a feminisation, or is it just that Brexit has cut everything sort of horizontally instead of...
I don't think it's a feminisation. I think that's the point, is that we've already seen that the traditional loyalties to parties no longer make any difference, or rather the big difference is since the refusal really to implement the referendum vote, that everything is dominated by Remain versus Leave. So I've just come from Barrow-in-Furness, where the candidate there, Jen McGrath, was Conservative in the past. He's now standing as Brexit Party. But the people I'm talking to are ex-Labour people who voted Labour all their lives who are going to vote for him. And I don't mean everybody ex-Labour, but that loyalty has been challenged by where do you stand on this big historic issue of the day. And I think
it's weird, isn't it? I mean, you know, the Brexit Party's own position, you know, that you could ultimately render Brexit impossible if you split the Leave vote.
Well,
you heard Nigel Farage today saying he was going to spoil his own ballot paper.
No, I mean, I think it's but I think it's an interesting dilemma. God, I fought this dilemma, and it's agonising. You know, in some ways, the Brexit Party made a tactical decision to stand down 317 seats.
And was that
so
right?
therefore, the jury's out. We should have stood down certainly a lot, and it certainly seems to have taken the wind out of the sails of the Lib Dem. And it was about trying to stop a Remain alliance and a second referendum. That's what it was about. But the reason I'm saying that is because you'll then be in a situation where those people are disenfranchised, but it's not as though then we're basically had a truce with the Tories everywhere else, because the Tories are basically acting as though they own the Leave vote and saying you must stand down and vote tactically.
I mean, when you talk about collaborative, there's also a slightly darker side, isn't it? Which is maybe you don't actually feel like you've enacted democracy at all.
Oh, no, I don't agree at all. I think that every single part of the I really can't speak for the Brexit Party and what they've done, because I'm really not entirely sure. I don't think
You're different wings.
Yes, exactly. How they're operating, I don't know, and I don't agree with. And it's a large reason why I actually left the Conservative Party, because I think that this is a really, really big problem for us. But I think that what we see again and again and again, we have hundreds and thousands of people across the entire nation going out and helping people to vote just to stop a Boris Johnson
victory.
victory.
This is where tribal loyalties
and I think that's really important.
I mean, do they ever go back? What
I don't think
I think once
ever go back once
I agree
you've done this. I don't think that once you've had somebody do this, you will never again get people that will only vote. I think
that's already
people
happened.
will vote for people, not so much for parties, and that's our job. We want to promote you to do that.
But I think it's the sad part is that on the one hand, I think tribal loyalties have ended. That's good, but I don't think we have a voting system that is fit for purpose, because first past the post means that people are now scared of splitting votes, and they're not. I mean, you know, you will have interviewed. I've seen packages where people are basically saying, "I'm voting for the least worst option." I mean, it was great today because I kind of talked to, you know, Colin and Kylie and Christine, and they're really excited that they've got a party they can vote for with the Brexit Party. But I'm making that point because they were positive. But a lot of people are saying, I'm having to choose to vote for someone that I think will keep someone else out. And that's really horrible.
Yes, and you both are probably in favour of something much more proportional.
Absolutely.
Do you think that has to happen now? I mean, if you say Brexit has cut through, tribal loyalties are gone, parties are shifting and reshaping anyway, are we absolutely heading for a change in the electoral system?
I think we have to be, because everybody's awareness of how politics works now has just risen by 500%, things we just didn't know about before. And the last time we actually thought about this, we didn't understand politics in the way we understand it today, and how actually having first past the post doesn't help us as a country. I think the government doesn't represent our desires.
No, exactly, and it also means that, it does mean that new parties can't get through. And I mean Change UK as much as Brexit Party, by the way. I think if you can't ever change, imagine there was a vote to shake up the status quo, but you're not allowed to shake up the status quo because you can't ever change
maybe you shake
beyond
it up from within.
No, but I mean, in order, you should be able to have representative.
You should be able to do what Macron did in France.
Yeah, you need to be able to say, oh look, I have got a completely new way of doing politics, whatever it might be, and I can vote for it and it will make a difference. And people don't feel that
Very
now.
briefly, there is a sense, and you've talked about collaboration, but there is a sense that there was defeat snatched from the jaws of victory a little bit on the Remainer side. There were all these polls that suggested that Remain was now more in favour, and yet the people's vote seemed to be about male wrangling and egos and...
Yeah, I mean, I think that people that make a lot of noise are usually the people that aren't doing the work. You know, the campaign should not be underestimated how hard we've actually worked. We've raised £700,000 since the elections were called, and there's an enormous team of people that have worked incredibly hard and volunteered their time.
We're going to end there. I'm going to whiz through the papers before we go because they pick up on where we started. The Daily Mirror has got another picture you won't want to look at Mr Johnson directly to the Prime Minister. It's a heartbreaking image of a sick child. They say the Times has not put anything on the front page about the health story or the Conservatives. They talk about the BBC licence fee being scrapped. That was mentioned from Mr Johnson today. And the Daily Mail has Boris Imaitak's TV licence and the pictures of the New Zealand volcano there.
I've been getting away